All right, Bryce. Are you ready to draft?
Let's do it. I'm excited for this one.
I'm excited for this one too, because it is a 32 and over draft. Basically, any NBA player that is 32 and over is eligible, and we are trying to create the best team to compete over the course of, if we are playing a season of basketball this year.
Yep.
And trying to win over the course of a full season, trying to create the best roster for us.
Correct.
And we will obviously put this out to a vote, and we will make sure that you guys get to tell us who did well and who did poorly.
So just to clarify, that it's the same as the 24 and under. So December 31st is the cutoff. December 31st, 1992 is the cutoff. So just some names immediately that were born in 1993. Anthony Davis in March, Bradley Beal in June, Norman Powell, Spencer Dinwiddie, KCP, Dorian Finney-Smith. Larry Nance Jr. was born on January 1st, 1993. He missed it by a day. And then Buddy Hield is available. If you look, he is 31 right now, but his birthday is December 17th, 1992. So he will turn 32 before the end of the calendar year.
Okay. So it's calendar year of 2024. You have to turn 32 in the calendar year of 2024.
Yep.
We have a third person who's going to come and join us for this draft. It is not Andrew Schlecht, but it is Andrew Claudio. Instead, what's going on, Claudio?
What's up, fellas? I'm happy to be your representative, Andrew, for this draft.
GMAC is here, taking a break from his producerial, we'll go with, duties.
I think that's a word.
That's a nice word.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a word, guys.
We'll go with it.
Doesn't matter.
It is if you believe it is.
It is if you believe it is. Thank you, Andrew. That is such a good way to put it. Okay, so we did not decide on an order ahead of time. Does anybody want to go first, or are we going to flip for this?
I've got a system that we use for drafts at Knicks Film School. If you'd like to partake in that system,
let's do it.
Little game of high card draw. So these are the cards that I got at the Vegas airport at Summer League, and so we use them for every draft now. I will start with our host, Sam. Your card is a 7 of spades. Bryce, your card is a 3 of clubs. And then my card is a 6 of spades. So, Sam, you get to go first. I'll go second. And then, Bryce, you get to go third.
Well, wait. Do I get to pick my draft slot?
You know what? You're great.
No, he goes first.
I will let you guys decide whether or not you guys want to go that way or not. We're
not going to argue about this. That's fine.
Okay.
I want to see who you pick. This is interesting to me.
It is actually quite interesting.
It is. It's not the under 24 draft for sure.
Because there are 3 very obvious, maybe 4 really.
I have picks. 4. I have 4 in the tier.
Yeah. And you could even make a case for 5.
I would agree.
I actually think going number 1 is a bit of a disservice in this draft.
I also agree.
I would have preferred to go number 3.
I think that's a good, fair point.
Okay.
So we screwed Sam in both drafts because in the under 24, he went third whenever there was 2 obvious top 2 picks. And in this one where there's 4 or 5 in the top tier, he goes first and 6th.
I love how you did that, Bryce, where you made it.
I didn't do it.
You made it very clear how the draft order was going to be decided. Wasn't you get to decide what pick you are.
Also,
you are where your card says you are.
We're going to snake draft. And I love Brian Windhurst, but I don't know if you guys listen to that. He really struggles with the snake draft. I tried to tweet at him and help him out, but they didn't respond. So I don't think they found it funny.
So this draft is fun because, again, we're doing this for like a full season, right?
This season, yes. Just one season this season.
And in some respect, I need to think about like injuries, right?
Yeah.
I need to think about like, okay, who are the guys where I can really trust them to stay healthy?
Sure.
And I think that's what's going to lead me to take LeBron James here.
Wow. Okay.
As much as I love 2 of the other guys on this list, as much as I love, people know that I Kevin Durant's on this I'm not breaking news here, right? Kevin Durant is on this thing. Yep. I love Durant, one of my favorite players, really, of all time. Kevin has missed time over the course of the last, 2 or 3 years? Not even 2 or 3 years, really. I would say the last, decade almost. 27 games in 2015, 62 games in 2017. 35 games in 2021, 55 in 2022, 47 in 2023, and then 75 last year. He played a full year last year for the first time in a while. I think that I trust LeBron to get through like the full season, just like a little bit more than I trust. Really, it's there are 3 other names that you can come up with here, but I trust him to get through the season a little bit more than I trust the other guys here.
It's fair. Yeah, I mean, he's obvious. He was in my top 3 and definitely in the top tier.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll ever get to a point where drafting LeBron James first overall is like a bad
choice.
Okay, so here's my question. So Andrew, who would would you have taken LeBron 1? Is my question to you.
Yes.
Okay, I would not have, just for the sake, because one of my favorite all-time players is available, and I just was going to take the opportunity to draft him. So,
and Claudio's next, right?
Yeah, right. Claudio's next.
And I apologize that I don't think you're going to get said players, because my pick will be Steph Curry.
There you go. That is said player.
Yeah, I will say I did think about
why Steph Curry over Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard.
The health aspect that you talked about. I also just think Steph Curry is better than both of them, even at 36 years old. The shooting that he provides is the most obvious weapon that can be talked about even in 2024. That it also allows me to get creative with the rest of my roster, since we're trying to build out the best possible team, and he'd be good next to anybody. Now, there's also a bit of I got to know my roots here, and I may or may not have said a lot of bad things about Kevin Durant when he was in Brooklyn, and that may have extended into today. But I also share Bryce's sentiments that I've enjoyed watching Steph Curry, and I'm happy that he's on my team right now.
Okay, I love it. Bryce, you're up.
And we just saw him go crazy in the Olympics. So obviously he still has that magic left in him. I will take the 2 players that you mentioned, Sam. Those were this was my top 4. And so I will take Kevin Durant 3rd to round out the first round. And then as we start to snake back, I will take Kawhi Leonard. I understand the injury issues with both players. I get it. I'm still going to take both of them. We are talking a 32 and older draft. I think injury concerns and health are going to be conversations with majority of players we take. Of these 30 names, it will be interesting how many we don't mention that. But I feel pretty good about starting my team with two-way wings in Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard. So Andrew, you brought up kind of the versatility. I think that's true with Steph and his offensive gravity, but starting off with these 2 wings allows me to go a bunch of different ways moving forward.
That is also why I started with a wing with LeBron James over Steph. I really thought about Steph as well, but I thought there was a little bit more guard depth than there was.
That's 100%. There's 100% truth to that, Sam.
Yeah, so that was an important factor for me as well here. As much as I love Steph, I kind of just thought that there was a bigger drop off between the wings than there were the guards.
Yep, I think that's fair.
May I ask a clarifying question?
You can.
The positional designations, how strict are we being?
So
adjust as you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like whenever we did the under 24, like I didn't even start Scotty Barnes and he was my 5th pick. So
totally.
Yeah. Sam will adjust as we make picks. He just starts off with this.
Right. I more meant like, as far as if I want to take a guy and put him at center, but he may technically be a 5 as long as it makes sense.
Yeah.
Or he may technically be like a wing or a 4. Like,
it doesn't have to make sense even.
So you're okay if I want you to move Steph to center, you're okay with that?
You can. You're just not going to get any votes.
Yeah, that's it.
I would argue if I just put like a bunch of shooters out there, the entire analytics crowd that's like shooting's the only thing that matters would point to that.
Hopefully you draft somebody bigger than Steph Curry.
Yes, don't worry. I plan to. My next pick with that in mind will be, there's so many people that I admire, but there's also so many villains of New York basketball that I could not draft. So I'm going to get creative with this. And I don't think this is that bad a pick, but I will take Drew Holiday with my next pick.
I like it. I love it.
I got Steph and Drew in the backcourt.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if Drew had any chance to slide back to me on the next one.
Yep.
But yeah, that didn't occur here. Okay. So why Drew over because there are still quite a few wings available. Why Drew over some of the wings?
So this is where I'm talking about the positional designations, where I actually think you could play him against a lot of wings. Like they had him guarding centers a lot last year. RIP to the old version of the Knicks, but every time that the fully healthy version of the Knicks, specifically opening night, would play the Celtics, Mazzulla had Drew guarding Julius Randle, and it put his brain in jail that he just couldn't comprehend. Like, this guy's smaller than me. I should be able to back him down, but I've been completely shut down as a result. So the ability for him to guard 1 through 5, having him in the backcourt with Steph as a counterpart. So he isn't necessarily my primary ball handler, but can be a ball handler. It appears he's still able to shoot as well in the year of our Lord 2024, excuse me. So Drew Holiday.
Like it.
Okay, you have left me in an interesting spot by taking Drew. You have created a pickle here, Andrew.
I'm sorry.
And I respect it. I respect it immensely, actually. I'm basically trying to decide on what I think. I'm trying to shout out game theory, trying to play game theory on what I think Bryce is going to do. There are a couple guys that I could take here that make a lot of sense. I am going to definitely take. You know what? I'm just doing this. I'm going to take Paul George and Jimmy Butler.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm going to
just
have a super switchable, wing conscious team that is super tough, is super, long. I have a monster defensive wing trio now that I think will give me a lot of versatility and lineup flexibility. And I'm also debating whether or not I play LeBron at point guard, depending on what happens here.
Sure.
So that I'm going to go Jimmy Butler and Paul George. Where did you guys have Jimmy Butler and Paul George?
They were my next two players.
They're right around where Drew is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought about Paul George over Drew. I think I like Drew a little bit better. Not from an offensive standpoint when you're running the offense through him, but the way I want to construct my team, I would. And it is against my religion to draft Jimmy Butler. So you benefited from that.
Yeah. I feel like this is not going the way that I had hoped almost, but it kind of is, because I have LeBron, Paul George, and Jimmy Butler, which is, all fantastic players. I kind of had a vision for how I wanted to build my team out beforehand, and it's not really the same way that I had it in my head, maybe, but I like where this is going from already I have a number of different ways that I can construct bench units. I can construct starting lineups, kind of everything like that. And another piece of it for me is that I actually wonder what Andrew does at the wing position now.
Yeah. I needed one of those guys and I wanted one of them specifically. And I was going to build a pretty fun switchable defensive unit. And by taking both of them, you've thrown that plan for a loop. I'm going to have to adjust on the fly. So.
Okay. Awesome. Andrew, you are up at number 8.
So I'm pretty confident that, well, I actually don't know what Bryce is going to do. I don't know how much you're willing to completely jam me up with your picks if I decide to ignore a certain position. But
you should know because I talked about it on the last time.
Right. But I also now I'm involved, so I don't know.
And then I jam myself up with said position.
Right. No, I'll take DeMar DeRozan with my next pick and put him at the wing. Yep. Yeah, I think the what I'm building right now is I was trying to see if I could stay as 5 out as possible. Obviously, with DeRozan, I'm welcoming back the mid range, but now I have 2 shooters. One is the greatest ever, and one is a 43% 3-point shooter last year around DeMar. So there's going to be at least space to operate. So yeah, I'll go DeMar DeRozan with my next pick.
Okay.
I like it. For what it's worth, he was one of my next best players available also.
There's a best player available argument, then there's also a need that
we're about to get into the awkward fit stuff like we got into the under 24 where there's going to be some really good names and it's like, man, I kind of already have that role taken. Do I draft this guy yet? And then we're going to get a steal like Sam did with LaMelo Ball whenever we did the under 24.
Yeah, no, it's very possible. Bryce, you are up at number 9.
I'm going to take Kyrie Irving for my first player in the backcourt. And then I'm going to zig away from what I initially wanted to do defensively based on the Kyrie pick. And I'm going to take Rudy Gobert to anchor my defense.
There you go.
Okay.
Just complete transparency. I was hoping to go Paul George and Draymond here or Jimmy Butler and Draymond and just go completely switchable with those 4 guys, those 2 plus Kawhi and KD. Once you took both, Sam, I didn't like the other wing options. I didn't think any of those guys were talented enough to go there. I think Kyrie's the most talented player, especially filling a role. We saw him do it with Luka. So I think he can play the 3rd star on my team. But now with Kyrie, I can't just switch everything. So I need Gobert to defend.
It's an interesting... It is interesting. If you're going to take Kyrie in this draft, I do love the idea of taking Rudy.
Yeah.
I think that makes a ton of sense. And I think that I'm really interested to see what your next 2 picks are.
Yeah.
Because I think that those 2 picks are kind of the ones that will kind of tell the tale of if this makes sense, how to make sense of it. Because I think I know who you will take next. I think I know, but I'm not positive.
Yeah.
Andrew, you're up at number 10.
So this is where I have to get
number 11.
Yeah. This is where I have to get a little wonky with my positions because I think I have to go a little small with my picks here.
So DeRozan's going to play center.
You joke, but I mean, if I roll out a Drew Holiday at center lineup just to mess with teams, I'm gonna take Dame Lillard with my next pick.
So for what it's worth, this was a big part of my calculus at the turn with Paul George and Jimmy Butler. I was assuming that you would not take Dame, and I was assuming Bryce would only take one of these, Dame or Kyrie's, and I would end up with one of Kyrie or Dame. So for you to do this throws me for a loop, and I am now really interested to try and figure this out at the turn. So what is your vision here for your backcourt?
As I just mentioned, Drew Holiday was guarding centers at times. It's just I now have a new version of the Splash Brothers with Steph and Dame and in the backcourt. Honestly, the hesitation wasn't even necessarily like the positional stuff. It's, do I think Dame still has like that in him, that portion of his prime that he was like hitting 50 footers and had that high volume success. And I think with a lot of space around, especially on lineups where he shares the court with Steph Curry, I think this will be a team that just bombs away with threes. So, and not the greatest defender either. I have Drew Holiday on the court that can share with him. So I'm leaning into the Drew Holiday identity of my team right now. And obviously the DeRozan of it makes things interesting. But this is why I started by talking about Steph Curry and his ability to be great off ball. Because if Dame and DeRozan are my primary ball handlers, Steph's gravity helps me, make more room for them. So I'm going Dame here, and I'm looking forward to the 3 guard lineups that I put out there.
Okay. So now,
it's really fun until right about now. Like this was a lot of fun until now, because now it gets really interesting. Those picks were pretty easy. Like those are all my top players. There's still some good ones, but.
So.
I'm sorry.
What I would really love here is if there was like a real 4-man that could space and like defend and be switchable to super high level. Right.
Some of these guys can do one of those things.
Yeah, right. No, like a lot of them can do one of these things, but not many can do both, I would argue. The guy that's really closest to this, in my opinion, is the guy I'm going to take.
Oh,
I'm definitely taking Al Horford here.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I want a real like spacing center for sure.
Yeah.
And I want the kind of lineup flexibility. Like I could play Al at the 4 or the 5, right?
Yeah.
And he can knock down corner threes and wing threes. He can pass it. He can play make. It feels like the right player to like mix into this group. The next question for me, I think I know if I don't take one guy that Bryce will take him. Andrew is a bit of a wild card here now.
Yeah, no shit.
Andrew is a bit of a wild card. Not going to lie.
I was like, we're going to screw him over. He's not going to have a center. And you know what Andrew said? I don't need it. He's just like the Knicks. I don't need a center.
I don't need a center. Yeah, or I'll randomly trade for a center on 2 days before media day. Okay.
Right.
Oh.
Okay. I am going to take Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
Oh, no. You are.
Well, you said he's not eligible. That's right.
He's not eligible.
I'm
February
sorry,
18th, KCP, his birthday. Let me double check. Caldwell-Pope, real GM. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope does not turn 32 until February 18th.
Until February. Ugh.
So that list I sent you had a few extra names.
So it did, Bryce.
Sorry.
So it did.
I hadn't adjusted the ones that were still 31 on NBA.com. I had to go through and hash out a few of those. I apologize. So the names that may be on there, Sam, that shouldn't be AD, Bill, Norman Powell, Spencer Dinwiddie, KCP, Dorian Finney-Smith, Larry Nance Jr., Pat Connaughton. If any of those names are on what I had sent you, I hadn't got them off yet.
Yeah. Okay.
My bad. That's my fault. That's on me.
Wouldn't change my first pick here at all. Like I'm very comfortable with Al Horford. I am just going to take James Harden here.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
And at the very least, I have my like sixth man in Harden.
Sure.
I think there's a chance Harden doesn't start for me, but I think there's also a chance he does, right? Like Harden might be a great fit with Jimmy Butler, Paul George, LeBron, and Al Horford. All sorts of driving lanes, all sorts of passing angles to create here. Again, it's not what I envisioned.
That's not what I envisioned. Whenever we get into these,
but here we are, and I'm rolling with the punches of what I wanted. Okay, Andrew, you're up at 14.
You're acting like Commissioner Gordon in the middle of the Dark Knight, where it's unpredictable what the Joker's about to do, and I'm over here like, do I look like a guy with a plan? You know,
some people just like to watch the world burn.
Yeah,
and that is Andrew.
Claudio is
things.
Yeah,
yes,
just out here watching. We're watching the world burn as Claudio makes his picks.
Yeah,
such a great movie, by the way. God,
it is. Movie. Yeah,
I watched it probably 2 weeks ago. It's so good. I watched all 3 of them 2 weeks ago. They're so good.
I'm due for a rewatch. Yeah,
you should. Highly recommend.
So I gotta stick with the spacing the floor. I need a spacing big. I'll take Brook Lopez with my next pick. I also think I need some rim protection.
That's not staying in character. What are you doing? That's not fun.
What, taking a center here? I needed to space the floor.
You were supposed to take I don't know, Chris Middleton, and then I could take another center. And
if it wasn't for the fact that the other 2 centers, I wanted Al Horford, but I knew I couldn't justify taking Horford over Dame, and I knew what taking Dame would do to Sam. So I at least am okay now going to this lineup with Horford as a decent pick and roll partner. We're going to be playing a ton of drop coverage, but where I may go with the rest of my draft also allows me to get creative. We'll see what Bryce does with the guy who I want next. But
look, you're playing drop. You're playing drop anyway,
right?
So it doesn't matter.
I might switch a bit. I might switch a bit. The tough part is with Dame switching, but let's see how I fill out the rest of my roster. I might switch a bit. Again, I'm looking forward to those Drew Holiday at the center lineups that I'm going to throw out there.
This rocks. Bryce, you're up at 15.
So I got to add a little bit of floor spacing considering I have Rudy Gobert. So I'll take one of the greatest shooters in the history of the NBA and I'll draft Klay Thompson and putting him in my starting lineup. I realize that defensively that he isn't what he used to be. Chris Middleton's still on the board here, but I think Chris Middleton's like the real injury concern. Kawhi obviously is as well, but with what the reports with, what was it, double ankle surgery or whatever, I'm just going to go Klay.
Yeah, look, Klay was the other name that I thought about with Harden after KCP was taken. KCP I wanted because of the switchability. I was like, okay, I can literally just switch everything if I take KCP here. Klay can't really do that anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But obviously an incredible shooter. And if there is one thing with my lineup, I'm a touch worried about, it would be shooting. How do I keep ending up in this circumstance, by the way, where all I talk about is 5 out floor spacing and shooting. And meanwhile, I did end up with the 5 out, but here I am again, where I'm shooting is kind of my question mark. Bryce, you're up at 16.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Draymond here.
Dang it!
And that's who I knew you were gonna take.
You got me.
Yeah,
and I thought about him substantially.
Yeah, so I mean, I have thoughts of maybe being able to go a different way with my backup big. There's some names. One in particular that's not very good defensively, but could at least do that. But I'll just play into that my 5-man, my big isn't going to be able to shoot in floor space, but I'm pretty comfortable having Draymond Green come off the bench for me, and then the versatility that allows lineups.
It's a good pick, I think. Honestly, he would have not gotten past me again. I know that.
He was going to be my next pick if Bryce hadn't. I was trying to pair Steph and Dray. Honestly, I thought about taking him over Brook. And then I decided to go with the better shooter. But
it's a good question. Bryce, would you have taken Brook with this?
Yes.
In these 2 picks?
Yes. Yeah. So Klay was the guy I felt like I needed to fill out my starting lineup. And then I was going to probably take a big regardless, because I think there's a lot of guards to fill out my bench unit that I feel similar about, even the wings to fill out my bench unit. But I had those bigs in a tier of their own. And so I wanted to get one of those guys. So I probably would have taken Brook here, and then I would have had a floor spacing big. So yes, those guys wouldn't have made it past me.
Okay, Andrew, you're up at 17.
Yeah, I know. This is why I have to take Middleton and just go with the add a wing here. I mean, the upside is he's healthy, and I can put him in traditional lineups. The downside is he's not, and at least he's a sixth man, and I have my starting rotation in play. So I'll go with Middleton here.
Yeah, so you have a lot of playmakers on your team. You have a lot of playmakers. And that is valuable because you have taken away a lot of the playmakers from Bryce and I.
This is, again, I'll just echo it again. The Steph Curry of it all allows me to put playmakers on the floor with him. And same thing, honestly, with Drew as well, where they can be around my playmakers.
You went full chaos agent. I love it.
Yeah. Regretting not taking Draymond. I got to be honest. I'm regretting not taking Draymond.
So, okay. Now we're getting into like really tricky areas. Yeah. I think. To be clear, Bryce, Beal is not eligible, right?
Bradley Beal will turn 32 on June 28th, 1993.
Yeah. So ineligible here.
Ineligible. No Norman Powell, no Spencer Dinwiddie, no Dorian Finney-Smith. Let me double check Dorian Finney-Smith because I actually had him on my list and that may have been a mistake. So let me double check that one. Dorian Finney-Smith, yes, will not turn 32 till May 4th. So no Dorian Finney-Smith either.
Okay. So LeBron teams are all often very specific in their construction, and they do like to have smaller scoring guards around who can handle the ball and play make and do things like that. So I am going to go CJ McCollum here.
Yep. He was probably my top player available.
Yeah. And he makes sense for what I have now, either off the bench as the sixth man or as frankly, like I could start him with my group and put LeBron at point. Yeah. And bring James off the bench. I think that there are different avenues that I could look at in that respect. At number 19 here, there are very few two-way wings available.
That's a very fair statement.
Unfortunately, Dorian Finney-Smith is not one of them.
Correct.
Which is a killer.
Yeah, he was definitely going this round if he was eligible.
Yeah, I probably would have taken him here, honestly.
Sam, before you pick, should we give the audio listeners a rundown? As we enter round 7. Yeah. So my team, not in the order they were selected, but is Kyrie, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Rudy Gobert, with Draymond Green being the sixth man. Sam's team is some version of James Harden or CJ McCollum, one starting, one off the bench, with Jimmy Butler, Paul George, LeBron James, and Al Horford. Andrew's team is Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Drew Holiday, DeMar DeRozan, and Brook Lopez, with Chris Middleton off the bench. So we are 6 rounds in. We all have 5 starters, a 6th man. We are starting round 7.
Okay. Thank you for that update, Bryce.
Sorry, Andrew. I assume Drew Holiday is probably your power forward. I'm not sure.
At this point, it kind of has to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
over DeRozan.
Again, we'll see what I do. I might put him at the center at a certain point. Just wait for the next 3 picks when they're all guards.
Chris Paul, Mike Conley, and Reggie Jackson.
Stop. We're not allowed to say who's on the board, Bryce. We're not allowed to say that. That's cheating.
Okay. So this one might be like a little off the. I'm going to go Jonas Valanciunas here.
No,
because
yeah,
I think I need a bit more size. Just a little bit more, not a lot more. I worry that without Jonas, or there's like precious few bigs left. Like Jonas is one of like two bigs left that are even potentially playable, in my opinion, in games like this. And Jonas, I am skeptical he will even be playable in something like this. But I think I need like an ass kicker, kind of. I think that's probably what my team would be missing. If anything, is just like kind of a guy who can be a bully and can be physical and can be strong at the big positions. You guys have Rudy and Brooke. Those guys can certainly do that. I would like a bit more physicality and rebounding on the interior. So I'm going Jonas Valanciunas.
He would definitely be one of my top 5 players available, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good pick.
Same. I have him on my big board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew, you're up at number 20.
Am I now?
I think that number 18, for what it's worth, is really where the drop off is.
Yes. But I have a guy I really don't want Andrew to take.
Well, the guy I'm staring at would clash with my identity, but I may just do it anyway. I will take with my next pick. Yeah, I'll take Chris Paul. Let's just do it.
I fucking love it so much.
I'll take Chris Paul.
I love
We're
it.
going small. I have all the point guards on my team. And now even the point guard is on my team. He's off the bench.
Amazing.
Look, there are worlds where I can put him next to Steph. I could put him next to Dame. I could put him next to Drew. I don't know who I couldn't put him next to. Defensively, I still think he has something in him. Sneaky underrated part of the Warriors season last year was his ability to control that second unit, especially from a lineup data and plus minus standpoint. That injury really messed up his season, but I need 20 good minutes out of the point guard to defend and run the second unit. So
I love it so much.
While I also have Dame Lillard and Steph Curry. Yes.
Hey, you know what?
So many playmakers.
I always give teams credit for having an identity, and
this is an identity.
Your team more than anybody's has an identity.
Yes,
and I respect it.
I have a question: are retired players in play? Like if I want to go up,
like, can you draft Michael Jordan? Is that what you're asking? Like,
is he in play? Is all I'm asking.
Anything's in play. Again, you were to the judgment of, so like, who's the most rabid fan base in Twitterverse that just can vote for your team because you have that person?
Just wait until Carmelo Anthony somehow ends up on my basketball team.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
Bryce, you are up at 21.
I will take Bogdanovich here. And then I will take, because he's a Detroit Piston, I will take Tobias Harris with my next pick. So I will take Bogdan, not Boyan, Bogdanovich, and Tobias Harris to start to fill in my second unit wing room.
Can I tell a Tobias Harris story?
Yes, please tell a Tobias Harris story.
When I was 20 years old and still living on Long Island, I was working with a youth group, a church here on Long Island. And one of the kids that lived in Nassau County was on his basketball team. And because I was the older one, I always felt like I was the king of the court. Like, yeah, sure, kids, let's go play. And this kid goes, hey, someone from my varsity team wants to come down. Is it cool if I bring him? I'm like, yeah, sure. It's like, all right, well, he's kind of good and kind of tall, so it might not be fair. And I was like, sure, tall. And I'm, again, arrogant 20-year-old talking to this teenager. In walks Tobias Harris. And I can confidently say that at 20 years old is the day I realized that I will never play in the NBA. When Tobias Harris became the real king of the court and was like, oh yeah, I'm being scouted by all these different schools, Tennessee, whatnot. And there you have it. I've shared a court with Tobias Harris, and it was very clear why I should never share a court with Tobias Harris.
Tobias Harris, good at basketball. I can only imagine him just like pulling up and just absolutely wrecking all of you guys.
Yes, there was a lot of like just don't get hurt in his game, but there was also a lot of I'm better than you, youth leader that thinks that he's the second best player on the court in his game.
Oh my God.
Threw down a few times too, which got all the kids excited, which was cool.
I'm sure he did. Oh my God. He could jump when he was younger for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Andrew, you're up at 23.
Oh yeah, I am, aren't I? Let's see. Let me look at my guards. Hold on. I might need another.
You might need another one.
Yeah, maybe. Again, you gotta lean in. I will take with my next pick, Torrey Craig.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Can put him at the wing, can put him in the center in certain lineups. Decent shooter. That's really what I'm looking at. 39% over the last 2 years. Not a ton of volume, but on my team, guess what you're going to be doing? Shooting threes. So I'll go Torrey Craig. The switchability more specifically is what I'm looking for.
All right. So I do know one of my picks. In a similar vein to what Andrew just laid out, I'm going Nicola Batum at number 24.
Okay. I thought he retired, which is why I asked about retired players. He's still active? He's on the Clippers?
Plays for the Clippers.
Good pick.
But Batum, to me, was the best player left, probably. Right?
I have one ahead of I have one next best player available, but if I were to take another point guard, I think you both would leave the show. So
it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
This would be my last draft. I just had all the point guards on my team.
And then my next pick is going to be Kelly Olynyk.
Like it. It's a good pick.
And that way I can confirm that I basically always have some sort of spacing out there. I know I have like multiple backup centers now, but I wanted 3 big options basically. And 2 of my bigs can play the 4 in Olynyk and Horford. Like I feel pretty good about that. And those can be lineups that occur when LeBron is playing the 1, right? Or Harden is playing the 1, or CJ is playing the 1 with LeBron. Like I'm trying to create as many different lineup possibilities here for my group as possible, is where I'm at. So number 25, Kelly Olynyk.
Same, by the way, as far as trying to create lineup possibilities.
Well, when all of your players are the same, you have infinite lineup.
Exactly. Yes. They just keep reproducing. It's man, I'm like staring at a guard that I really want to take, but it would be completely jumping the shark.
Please do it.
I'm very close to. I gotta be. Here's what
won't.
I'll take a different guy for now, but if you pass on him, I'm gonna have to, Bryce.
Okay.
So then with my next pick, I hope he has. He's really not great, but I hope he has something left in him. I'll take Kevin Love.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Kevin is like within this group for sure.
Yeah. Power forward or center. He can go to. I think he has enough in him as a backup that this is justified where we're at right now. So I would put him as my backup center, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where.
Yeah. If you want to put him where you want to put him. So, all right, Bryce, it's on you. I'm going guard with my last pick unless you take him.
So I'm trying to decide. I'm deciding between 4 names. And I'm trying, like, I could really lean into floor spacing and scoring, or I could stay a little more traditional. Here's what I'm going to take Harrison Barnes to round out the wing room.
Is Harrison Barnes still a wing?
I mean, I just do like the 1-3-1. So primary guy, off ball guys, big man. So
yep.
I may be a little bit redundant there with Barnes and Harris, but I will live with it. I'm just
the consternation is great.
So
this pick.
I knew who I was going to take. And then now I kind of want to take somebody different to see if you'll take the guy, to see if the guy we're talking about is, if you'll take him. Okay. I'm going to do it just simply to leave him on the board and see what you do. I'm going to take Jordan. I'm going to take Jordan Clarkson.
There you go.
And then see if you will take the guy that I left.
Yeah. Clarkson was my next pick that I was hoping would get there for what it's worth.
That's a lot of points scored from Clarkson for my last pick. So I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. Andrew, was Jordan Clarkson your guy?
No, actually.
No, it wasn't.
I'm actually like, I didn't have him on my board. I'm looking for where he is in age.
Jordan Clarkson is 32 years old. He turned 32 in June.
Okay. All right, great. I'm taking Mike Conley.
Oh, that actually wasn't who I was talking about.
I'm actually very curious who you were talking about. I think he's the best shooter on the board left. So.
I'm not gonna. I will say as soon as Sam makes a pick, because just in case Sam, because Sam could use the guy that I'm talking about. So if Sam doesn't know he's on the board, I'm picking him up as an undrafted free agent.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
I'll be shocked if Sam doesn't take this player. And I'll kind of be upset if he ends, and I'll be a little embarrassed if he doesn't end up getting drafted.
I'm staring at the list. I'm not sure who you're talking. I mean, there is a wing kind of that I considered, but all right. I'm very curious where this goes then.
So there are like three guys here, right?
Yeah. For what it's worth, I have three guys separated from whoever's left.
And look, I can't take Vooch, but like Vooch is in theory available. Yep. It's a little bit wild that nobody took Vooch, but also speaks to how catastrophic Vooch's defense was last year.
Didn't write his name down.
But yes, yeah, I had Vooch is one of the three that I would reference here.
Yeah. And like, again, like I can't take Vooch. I felt like I needed, like whenever I took Jonas, I was like, okay, like it's between Vooch and Jonas. I felt like Jonas was a better defender last year than what Vooch was. And he like kind of filled the complementary role that I wanted a little bit more. And then Olynyk's ability to play both the 4 and the 5 was a little bit more valuable for me than Vooch. I'm trying to decide. So like the guys that I'm looking at here.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear your name.
So I'm assuming you're talking about Malcolm Brogdon.
I'm actually not, but he's on this list also.
Yeah. I mean, Buddy Hield is available.
That's one of the other top three for me.
And then like, to me, TJ McConnell is probably the next best guy.
So that's who I've been talking about. Maybe I'm like, that's who I had planned on taking. That's who I thought you were talking about, Andrew.
I've made it clear that there are times I'm not allowed to draft people because of my religious obligations, and I'm not allowed to root for TJ McConnell in this Knicks household.
Yeah. So like TJ McConnell is the top name for me right now. And I'm trying to decide, like, it does complement what I have too, because TJ is like a driving guard who can also play at the point of attack on defense. And that's actually probably something that I do need pretty desperately, I would say, is point of attack defense. I mean, I have Paul George and I have Jimmy. Like those two guys are going to be taking on the tough roles for the most part. But I could probably use one more. So I will go TJ McConnell here, I think.
That's who, until I realized, I kind of wish I just would have taken him because I think that would have rounded out my bench unit better than what I ended up doing. So I blame you, Andrew.
What for not? I mean, honestly, I think Andrew's pick,
for not.
Mike Conley is a better player than TJ McConnell. Like that's just like accurate.
I looked at the shooting, honestly. I agree, and I shot 44% from three last year, so that's where I went through with it. I'm bombing away on my team.
Yeah, like I'm a little bit jealous that I didn't end up with Mike Conley. I think that is where maybe I screwed up by taking Kelly at 25 and probably should have taken Conley at 25. That's a good pick. That's a really good pick, Andrew.
I may also be just like remembering McConnell's playoffs, but he was
awesome. Great.
He was unstoppable in that Knicks series. Like unstoppable.
So best players
for TJ McConnell. Yes.
Best players available, or should we go through our teams, Sam, or best play available and then our teams?
Let's go through best players available.
So Vooch, you mentioned. Buddy Hield would be another top name on my list.
Yes.
Malcolm Brogdon.
Those are the top three for me pretty clearly.
Joe Ingles.
I had him like
Joe can't really move anymore.
Yeah. Okay. I had him in a tier a little bit lower. I had Tim Hardaway Jr. just as a gunner. DeLon Wright.
Yeah. Kyle Lowry is the
Kyle
next,
Lowry was
another name.
Yep. Russ, if we would have gotten there, I don't think we were going to get there, but he was a name.
Have you mentioned Boyan yet?
I was getting to Boyan.
Yeah.
And then the other bigs I just wrote down were Tice, Plumlee, and Maxey. And that's why I think it was so important to get bigs early, because like you didn't want to get stuck with going there.
Yeah, and like Maxey versus Kelly is another interesting conversation to me, at least. I think I still would rather have Kelly, but
yes,
nonetheless. Andrew, anybody stand out to you? Sergio Yul over in Spain.
Alec Burks was one that
I had him on my list.
Yeah, and then honorable mention Taj Gibson, because this again part of my DNA.
Not on my list.
He shouldn't be. He probably shouldn't be on any NBA roster, but that's the beauty of having Taj Gibson. Seth Curry, I wrote down.
I had him on my list. Eric Gordon, Doug McDermott.
There's one more. You just said it, Eric Gordon. Yeah.
Yeah, Gordon's another good name. Makes sense. I'm trying to think if there's anybody that like we really missed that we could have talked about here. I think Delhi would be on this list. Delhi played okay at the Olympics is why I bring him up, but yeah, no, I don't think so.
So I wrote Gary Payton Jr.
Yeah.
Gary Payton the second down.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I
thought about him.
When I was making the list, so I just go to NBA.com, filter ages and all of that. Like I stopped and paused and I was just like, I'm not going to end up drafting him, but like he definitely was a player that stood out that I was going through, So if we go through the next 20 players that are going to get drafted, he's probably in that number.
The player that it was crazy that he wasn't available was like when I was looking at Jonas, I literally Googled Steven Adams. I was like, man, he's still 31 and like just turned 31. That's the guy like I really wanted at that pick, but just didn't work out, unfortunately. Let's see. PJ Tucker is another name. Jeff Green is another name. Like he gave Houston pretty good minutes. Danny Green, Derrick Rose just retired. Patrick Beverly is over in Israel. Gallinari, Thad Young, Patty Mills, Boban, DeAndre Jordan for vibes. Robin Lopez for vibes.
Marcus Morris for vibes.
Marcus Morris for vibes. Justin Holiday. Gordon Hayward just retired. Jay Crowder. Robert Covington. Let's see. Muscala. Joe Harris. Reggie Bullock. And then that could be, is Fournier 32? He might be another name. Yeah. But I think that's just about everybody that we could have possibly named here.
Okay. Fournier turns 32 in a month.
And you would have had a direct path at him, Sam, if you wanted it, because Bryce and I went through the Fournier experience.
Yeah, no, I'd have been okay. I'm okay with that. Okay. The draft. I took LeBron James at number 1, Paul George and Jimmy Butler at number 6 and 7, Al Horford and James Harden at number 12 and 13, CJ McCollum and Jonas Valanciunas at 18 and 19, Nikola Batum and Kelly Olynyk at 24 and 25, and TJ McConnell at 30. Andrew took Stephen Curry at number 2, Drew Holiday at number 5, DeMar DeRozan at number 8, Damian Lillard at number 11, Brooke Lopez at number 14, Chris Middleton at 17, Chris Paul at 20, Torrey Craig at 23, Kevin Love at 26, Mike Conley at 29. Bryce took Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard at number 3 and number 4, Kyrie Irving and Rudy Gobert at number 9 and number 10, Klay Thompson and Draymond Green at number 15 and number 16, Bogdan Bogdanović and Tobias Harris at number 21 and number 22, Harrison Barnes and Jordan Clarkson at number 27 and number 28. Interesting teams. I'm kind of into it.
This is fun.
I'm trying to decide who I think is going to win.
I think you'll win, Sam.
I think the internet will probably vote for the LeBron team, right? Like, I think that's probably the most likely outcome. But maybe I think Bryce has like a real shot, and the Steph stands are real. So like,
Steph stands are real. Yeah, I still think you nailed it with the LeBron of it all, and then you put him next to Harden and Paul George and Jimmy Butler. I think that's where people will go.
Yeah, people don't like Rudy in the way that they should, so that could hurt Bryce.
I was gonna say I have Rudy and Draymond. There's no way I'm winning.
And Kyrie, like
and Kyrie.
Like unlikable players, unfortunately.
And like people don't dislike Kawhi, but it's like, oh, he's not gonna. He never plays. So even though I think I looked and like he's actually played more games in the regular season over the last few years than Jimmy. It's like I think it's going to be easy to hate my team.
I think that's probably true. Unfortunately, you've both built good teams here, though. So well done, everybody.